Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Just give me some more. Have it in. Some more. Just give me some more.
Why, hello, and welcome to my Whiskey Den, your favorite public access whiskey review show where craft whiskey is king, but not this month. This week, craft brandy is king. So thank you everyone for stopping in the chat nice and early. Before we go a second further, I just want to mention to everyone that we are a proud part of the Bar Cart Co-op with other fantastic shows like Distillers Talk with Alan Bishop and Christy Atkins, where they delve a little bit deeper into the nuts and bolts of distilling. They also have Bourbon Turntable with Kevin Rose and Drew Crowley, where they blend the love of music with the love of whiskey. And then they have the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with Alan Bishop, where he takes you down a little home rabbit hole distilling that I can't say maybe you should or should not do, but it is something that's always interesting to have a little bit more knowledge about. But this evening we have Mike. Thanks for being with us. And we haven't seen in a long time, Colin, but Colin Keegan from Santa Fe Spirits. It is always a joy to have you on the show. So thank you very much for coming on during Brandy Month.
Well, thanks for having me. And I'm looking forward to getting into brandy in many ways.
Well, and that kind of actually leads off my first question. With your distillery and kind of knowing it, what was the first thing you wanted to produce at the distillery? Did you start off wanting to do whiskey, or was it other spirits?
Really, we started making apple brandy, funnily enough. I before, as I call it, this whiskey lark, which has been 12 years of a lark now, I was an architect. I designed a house for a fella with a let's put it a big ego. Let's be polite. Anyway, he had us as his architects design him a house in this apple orchard here in Tasuke, and said, "Oh no, I can build a house cheaper than anybody else. Don't you worry. I'm from Houston. I know what's going on." And then when the contractors and he got into a fight, he said, "That's it. I'm leaving." And I said, "Oh, I'll buy the orchard from you." So the orchard and my wife and I paid what we thought was too much, and he thought he didn't get enough. You know how real estate goes. So we ended up buying the apple orchard, moving in, building a much, much smaller house, and enjoying the property for about 5 or 6 years and making apple cider and, realizing we're throwing a ton of apples away. Let's invite all our friends over. So I get pretty linear. When I invited my friends and my apple press couldn't keep up, so I bought another apple press. So instead of having tons of apples left, we had tons of cider left. There's only so much cider we'll do before it goes off, and months later. So we turned it into hard cider the next year. And then a friend of a friend who was a bit of a crazy scientist brought a still along and started distilling from some juice that he'd fermented from the previous year, which was kind of fun. And I looked at this and thought, God, it'd be great to have one of those. And my wife, as a joke, bought me a still for Christmas. Which was actually, it was one of those 15-gallon kegs, one of those turkey basters, not basters, those turkey fryers that people are supposed to put out in the Port Island.
Yeah.
Half people who use them burn the house down at Thanksgiving, I think, because they deep fry a turkey. But so we had one of those, played around with it, cobbled it together and built a better still, made some pretty adequate apple brandy. And from then on was hooked. Distilling was kind of fun. I started researching and went back to work. When the economy took a downturn, it was 2008 for most of the country. New Mexico's a bit behind. It was 2009 before we really crashed here. And then nobody needed an architect to design them a big house on a golf course. So I started playing with my hobby, bought a building, bought a real still, and that was 2010, and haven't done anything since, apart from make all these spirits that we make.
Now, what type of still do you guys use?
We have a Christian Carl still made in Germany. Is it Riesbarn? You can make up any name. It's a German name. I can't remember. Somewhere just outside the Black Forest, really. And I've forgotten the name of the town. I should look it up. But technically, it's called a brandy still that we have. Although brandies and whiskeys will distill fine, and it makes a really fine whiskey. It's a pot still that we use for the brandy and the whiskey. We have a column that we can reroute. The column's not on top of the still like it is sometimes.
Okay.
It's alongside. So we can reroute just by a couple of valves into a column to do other things.
Very nice. And I was gonna say, just a quick sniff on this.
Oh yeah.
Is there an in particular apple that you guys like a brand of apple you guys have on the orchard, or is there like 15? I'm just there's sometimes at orchards there's like 3 or 4 different varieties, and sometimes there's like 27.
You're right. I mean, apples are actually quite fascinating when you really get into the history of it. Johnny Appleseed, although a fictional character, tells a lot of great stories about what a lot of people were doing. But our apples here are mostly Jonathan apples and Gala apples. We do actually have some Golden Delicious, which is a sort of more modern variety, if you like. It was bred to be a lot sweeter. The difference that we have, or anybody in New Mexico has, because of our lack of humidity, you don't get, massive apples that you can barely fit in your hand like they do like in Washington State or somewhere. They got moisture on the inside and the outside of the apples. Ours tend to be a lot smaller and harder. And I mean, they're great. They're really flavorful, but they're not big, juicy apples. So, and we actually... Sorry, that's enough.
No, keep going. I was just saying, I'm like, so does it, with them not being as juicy, with what you get, does it seem more concentrated compared to like a bigger apple that's a lot more I would say flavor, but a lot more juice to it? I would just assume it's got a lot more punch for its size than that.
It does for its flavor. It is concentrated, and Jonathan and Gala are quite flavorful as they are. We're going to start another line, if you like, what we're going to call an estate brandy. We've planted some Bramley and Castleton apple trees, and those are very hard, tart apples that you use for cider making to give it some body. Mm-hmm. They're small, I mean, you can sort of put your hands around the trunk, so to speak. So they're not big enough to really get a volume out of them yet. But in about 2 or 3 years, we're going to start doing probably just a couple of casks a year of like an estate brandy. And those apples, actually, I remember from being a kid in England. It's funny, I remember that far back, but they're very hard, very tanniny, very tart, and you sort of pucker when you take a bite of them. But they make a great brandy. There's a lot more flavor to them. So. But we actually calculated, because there's less juice in them, the actual sugar content is higher, but it still takes us 90 pounds of apples to make 1 bottle of brandy.
Okay.
which is huge. I mean, and that's probably the standard across most other places, because even if you've got a big juicy apple, the volume of it means that the juice has got stretched further, so to speak, within the apple. Mm-hmm. So they might not have the same level of bricks, which is what you convert into sugar and alcohol and then ethanol.
So with that many apples that it takes, I mean, I imagine you're going through a lot. But like you said, the alternative was they were just on the ground. Yes. But are you doing anything with the spent apples after the process?
Yeah, we sort of put out a notice. Actually, took out an ad in the paper. Apple tailings for anybody with animals. People like to give horses apples, but there's quite a bit of acidity to them, so you've got to be careful.
Mhm.
Horses are semi-fragile, quite fragile. Pigs, on the other hand, will eat anything.
Yes.
So a lot of people who, and there's not big pig farms, but there's a couple of people who do raise pigs, and they would come with their pickup truck, and we would just shovel the apple tailings into the back of their truck, which was great. We used a little bit here in the orchard. They're part of the natural cycle. Apples fall on the ground and they can replenish the tree because there's nutrients in them. And with those tailings, we'll throw them around. Problem is you get quite a bit of flies for the first few weeks.
I would think
a couple of weeks of that, you get flies around, but it's not so bad.
We got a couple questions from Reno's. Do you know which are the mountain apples that grow around Cloudcroft, New Mexico?
Cloudcroft, New Mexico. I don't. I would guess they're going to be something like the apples we have, a variety of Jonathan and Gala. These are heirloom apple trees that were sort of indigenous to New Mexico. And we're at 7,000. Cloudcroft's up there too. That's up high. I would assume there's something like that. More like an heirloom. I'm trying to think I can't think of some of the others off the top of my head. But here in New Mexico, we don't have a lot of moisture. So big apple trees suffer. Our apple trees don't grow that tall.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I'm like, are the ones you were mentioning seem like native to New Mexico compared to other ones? Or, did you ever try like filtering in any other, brands or like styles of apples?
Not for us. No. Okay. We are working in southern Colorado with a couple of orchardiers there that have different trees. But we're sort of being careful that we maintain the integrity of our brandy. And I'll be honest with you, it's about bandwidth. We're a lot more of a whiskey house than we are a brandy house. As my distillers really start taking over more, I'd love to venture into brandies and stuff. And, different varieties and different varietals. And New Mexico has about 8 to 10 different styles of tree, and I should know all the names, but it's just another one of those things that when I get some time, I'll look into more, like we all do.
Excuse me. Let's see. There's one other one. And I would say, yes. So the sugar's more concentrated in those smaller apples. I would assume so, yes, when we hit that.
Yeah, they are. There's just a certain wonder I have at nature, the way it does stuff. Those apples are designed. Really, the apple is the pulp that falls to the ground to give enough nutrients for those seeds to sprout another tree. That's what really fruit is all about. It's giving sugars and, a mush that the seedlings can grow in to produce other trees. We as humans have taken that and turned it into a flavor profile that we like, but they're a natural product and they're going to do what they want, which is maintain a certain amount of sugar.
And how long do you guys age the brandy that you guys have?
Our brandy's aged for about a year. So yeah, let's just say a year. Sometimes we'll pull casks after 9 months because they're getting oaky. Sometimes we'll wait because everything we do, and you can tell actually if you look at the color of the brandy, it's dark. For a Calvados style, we'll get into that in a minute. There you go. That's it. That's dark for a brandy. So we're using new oak on ours, which we think with the flavor profile of the apples and what we're looking for gives a nice sort of oaky, appley balance.
And I think we had Tom from Mollersheim in Wisconsin. They do a grape brandy that they age in new oak, and I think his gets a little more oak coming through on it, but it does what they were going through was something that kind of bridged a brandy to a whiskey for people. And smelling on the nose, you kind of get like you get obviously like the apple for me, and you get and some cinnamon, but
Yeah.
like the caramely note that kind of comes off it, even though it's like light and nice in the background, almost like not like a heavy carameled apple, but nicely drizzled on it. I think that comes from the new oak, just having that little bit, having that in there.
New oak will do that. You can get those same notes in whiskeys, but obviously have nothing to do with apples and caramel notes. I mean, I think ours, because of the New Mexico apples, and when you press them, you get a lot per milliliter. There's a lot more apple skin and apple juice getting pulped together than there is in the big, juicier apple, so to speak. So I think you get a lot of apple skins, which I like, and more of a baked apple.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that, like an earthy, like finished, like an it's like right on the edge of an apple pie, but it's like the it's the sugar. It's like the sugary glaze on the outside of the apples.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, that's where we sort of refer to it more like an apple pie. We actually say, and I forgot the name of the fella you were just talking to, somebody else who was making a brandy. That's really aging a brandy like a whiskey. Whiskey's a lot more, especially here in America, about the oak and the control of the oak and how that flavors the spirit, etc. If you go to Europe, a lot more of them are made in more of a Solera style. So, they'll pour it slowly in at the top of those massive casks that are like 900 liters, and they'll slowly pull it off the bottom so that it stratifies, They're quite clear. They're like one of those, very lighter, just a light sort of golden touch to them, because for them, it's a lot more about the fruit than it is about the oak. I think the gentleman you were talking to before is right. For the American palate, for us, brown spirits are a lot more about the oak here.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. So when you're talking about maybe with the distillers taking off one way and you get to play around with a little more brandy, we've established a long time here that your smoked whiskeys are fantastic. That's certainly no secret. I know you finished some of your stuff in your apple brandy cask. Have you smoked any of your apple brandy?
We did try a smoked apple brandy that we did after the distillation, and we were thinking more like a liqueur. So we did what was called slow burn, which was a apple brandy, more like an eau de vie, straight off the still.
Okay.
We didn't want to wait and spoil any of the apple brandy in case the experiment didn't work. And we built basically like a bong. we built a vessel together, and we had a fish bubbler that had a crucible, obviously very hot, with a metal tube that went into a plastic tube when it was far enough away from the heat. And as the fish bubblers do, they suck oxygen out of the atmosphere and put it into a fish tank. We were doing that and sucking we tried mesquite first, and it wasn't particularly good. Mesquite chips in the crucible and bubbled it through the alcohol. And then tried sweetening it. We weren't that happy with the effect.
Okay.
It didn't quite work the way we wanted, so we didn't make it. But we had a lot of fun playing with a bong the size of a dining table.
I'm sure that would be kind of exciting. Could you do anything? Because with the brandy process, which I've not seen it. I mean, the distillation is one thing, but as far as getting to the point to the fermentation, could you smoke the apples? Would that carry through?
I don't think they would carry through the same, but that's having not done it. Maybe if you tried them in like a pulp stage, they would absorb a bit. I mean, in like our whiskey, I wish we had the facility to do it. We don't do it ourselves. Breeze Malting House smokes our whiskey for us and do a great job for us. Here's a plug for a malting house if ever you need one. Um, they do small, volumes like we use, and that's because the grain's in a green state when they get it, and they're drying it with that smoke. Now they won't actually tell us how they do it. It's a proprietary way that they do stuff, but it's not the old malting floors that they lay it out. I do know that they probably do it in big vessels where they can temperature control the humidity, the heat, the amount of smoke.
Mm-hmm.
It might be interesting. It'd be different because grain's not quite as heavy and dense as apples, even in the wet stage. But that might be kind of interesting to do.
It's like smoked fruit snacks.
Fruit snacks. I like it.
Hey,
Just saying.
that might be something worth investigating. A smoked fruit snack.
I will show you something fun that we have done, which was we called our arborist special. If I hold it up.
Oh, hold on here. I can make your screen a little bit bigger there.
This is a bad example. We got some much bigger apples. Can you see that? There's an
yeah.
There's an apple.
That's sweet.
So we learned this from the European style. I saw it in a liquor store and I thought, I've got to do that. So
I like it because you think like me about some things like, okay, that's really cool. We're going to do that at least once.
Yeah, exactly what we did, at least once. And I'll tell you why. You basically, everybody says, how do you do that? It's actually very simple. Apples, of course, start tiny and they grow. When they're small enough to fit through the neck of a bottle, you hang them up. You have to hang them upside down so you don't get water in the bottle because that would rot the apple. So you hang empty glass bottles which have tied to the neck just one apple on a stem. You have to pull all the leaves off. And they typically grow in clusters of 3 or 4, typically 3. You pull the others off. Sorry, wrong finger. This finger in the bottle, and you have to tie it to the neck and then tie the bottle up in the tree. And they do their thing because all the apple needs is sunlight and the nutrients that come through that one branch, and they'll grow. This is a bad example. I should have got a better one out for this.
No, that's cool as heck.
That's really cool.
And we did it for a couple of years, and we might get back to it if we get a really good crop one year. We hung 300 bottles.
I'm just saying that's pretty labor intensive.
It's very labor intensive. I'd say it takes 10 minutes a bottle.
At least.
So, and you do a day, then you do another day, and you got to do it in May when they're big enough that they're not just going to fall apart. You've got to, that's about the size of a small grape or, a bean or something, so you can get it in. So we hung 300. By the time they'd been through, some storms and, a few months of growing, we only had 200 that we took off the tree. And then you have to actually wash the apple in like a citric acid to try and, it's a strong citric acid to try and get all the dirt off the outside and hopefully kill some bugs and get those out of there too. And then in that process and then trying to fill them, you look at them and they sit for, just a couple of days. 1 or 2 will go bad. We ended up with 180 bottles.
Okay.
And yeah. So it's quite labor intensive. So we didn't sell them at the same price, but we'll try doing it again. I'm sure it's kind of fun, Yeah.
How did it taste?
It tastes the same as the apple brandy when you first do it. Now this one isn't actually that bad. A lot of them you can see there's a little cloudiness to that, which no distiller really likes to see in the liquor. And there's a couple of particulates. They do break down a little bit, even though they're sitting in alcohol. I would say after a year, it's different. It's a lot sweeter, and it knocks down a lot of the nice flavors and balance that the brandy has. And these were done quite a while ago. These were done in 2016. So I should open one and try it. I'm not going to open that one because somebody might want to buy it.
I'm like, that one held up well then.
Yeah, that one held up, yeah.
So I've been nosing and writing down my notes and stuff on this brandy, and the thing that gets me right off the bat is it's not an apple. I get like when you take the first bite of an apple.
Yeah.
But then I was getting like specific and because you mentioned some of the varieties that you've got, but if you go like especially around here this time of year, get the really good Honeycrisp apples, and then you get the nuts. I don't want to say not so good. You'll get those massive Honeycrisp apples, and you'll get the ones that they'll put on sale, which are about half that size, that are still Honeycrisp apples, but they don't have the extra sweetness of those big massive ones. Yeah. So there's a little tartness with the sweetness. So I was getting like specifically that first bite off of those smaller Honeycrisp where you get sweet tart like right off, and I'm just getting that on the nose on it, right. And it was the nose. It's really weird. It smells juicy. Like if that it just smells like this is a very juicy apple. But yeah, the nose on this is really, really nice. I mean, but then like Pat mentioned cinnamon and vanilla, and I also get there's a little bit of leather on there.
Yeah,
but it's just very nice and also kind of comes across to me a little bit like an Irish whiskey.
Yes, the sweetness that they get from
the
extra distillation actually, but
a little bit like the butteriness that I was thinking before.
Mm-hmm.
I could see where you're hitting.
Well, you just said butter, and that was the word that was coming off me. I just got a hit of it there. To me, I think you were talking about it well, that we pick the apples when they're about as ripe as can be here in New Mexico, and partly because, as I was saying, they're sort of smaller and harder. If you try and do an early harvest, they're very small and very hard. You know, like apples that have fallen off trees in a windstorm. They're just too hard. It's hard to grind them, and it's also, I don't think the flavors are as good. So when I smell it, I get like an apple that is very ripe, not rotten, not gone that far, but definitely like slightly overripe apple.
Mm-hmm.
So because you get a sweeter note there, even somewhat pear-like, which is a higher.
I was gonna say a little bit of apricot and honey.
Yeah,
but
other stone fruits and stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
So do you still make the apple cider and sell it?
No, it's weird here in New Mexico. We don't have a license to sell apple cider.
Okay, I'm not surprised at all that you just said that.
Yeah,
just because it's like, all right, you can distill brandy and make whiskey, but you cannot sell apple cider. Yeah.
We can't sell cider, apple cider. We can't sell hard cider, which we make. You know, we bring in 8,000 gallons of apple juice typically in a year, and we'll convert it to like 800 gallons of brandy and multiply that by 5 for how many bottles. I mean, it's a small batch that we do. So that goes, we can't sell the juice as it is. We can't sell the hard cider once we've fermented it. That's just the way the licensing works, But apple cideries here come under winemaking licenses, and we don't have a winemaking license. We have a distiller's license.
Oh.
Same as with our beer. I mean, we would do it differently, of course, but as you guys well know, whiskey is distilled beer, very basically. We make of that 4,000 gallons a week, and we can't sell a drop of it because we convert it onto whiskey so we can sell it. The fun of distilling and doing winemaking, eh?
Bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Laws are great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry. That's another weird one when we talk about that too, where it's like, well, we could let you make money on every step of the process, but no.
But why do it?
But why do that?
but I do want to bring back because it's been a couple years since you've been on, but in that time, now I mean COVID was going on, so there was some, I guess not the microscope wasn't on everybody during a lot of COVID stuff, but you can ship direct to consumers now.
Well,
not every consumer.
Well, we call it indirect. In the you walk into a winery and you say, "Can we buy a bottle?" They'll sell it to you and they'll ship it to you. We can do that. We can't do it in New Mexico. Actually, weird law. We can't. If you order online in New Mexico, it actually comes via California. So it leaves us, goes to California, and comes back. We have a retailer in California and a retailer in Washington, D.C., and they ship to the rest of the country. So it's not the direct-to-consumer that we eventually would like wineries.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of wineries exist only for direct-to-consumer because they don't want to get involved in the nasty three-tier system. But we don't mind the three-tier system and paying the taxes all the way along. But when you order from what looks like ordering from our website, it goes to a great group of guys called Big Thirst who manage it for us, the algorithms and the website and all that stuff. And then from there to the retailers who then ship it back to people. So it does mean we can sell in 41 states, which is great.
Yeah.
Our margins are comical because of all that. But we're now poised for when direct to consumer comes in. And excited about it, it'll be exciting.
Good.
Yeah.
It makes it easier for a lot of people to get a taste of it. That's all.
It does. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's just a marketing effort. We make a little bit of money on it, but eventually when it becomes real direct to consumer, it'll be good for the business as opposed to a marketing tool, which is kind of really mostly what it is, which is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. COVID, for those of us who managed to pivot, and it was all about my team, really, as much as me, my tasting room manager, my office manager, my head of sales, were all in there bottling hand sanitizer for a year that we sold it, Now that's gone away and we're back to what we like to do, but it promoted us a lot in the local community. So we came out, with a lot of evangelists, let's put it that way, that love us.
Good.
Yeah,
it's good.
And we were glad to see as many people as they did survive through that, because it was little, especially right away. I know that there was a big concern, and I mean it held for a while, but I mean it was. I know people we had talked to, they thought at least 33 and as high as like 50% of distilleries were going to maybe take a hit, and it didn't seem like near that. So we happily surprised.
We were too, as a group, to see all our friends at the next conference and the next conference, online doing their thing. We were very happy about it.
Sorry about that. I got caught on the hold button there for a second. But yeah, this. It has just a nice sweet, just the right amount of like sweetness, but the earthiness in it is neat. We were talking about like the rind of the apple. Like that part kind of almost like mixes in with like a little bit like the baking spice note for me. In that spot. It's a really nice, and it's not overpowering. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be really intrigued to see like the estate one whenever you come out with that, or. Does it always come out at 40%, or does this ever like come out at higher by chance?
Well, when it comes off the still, it's quite a bit higher. This is slowly watered back to be the 80 proof, 40%. We did an eau de vie, boy, that we had it 80%, which is it was powerful. And brandies, it still confuses me a little bit. Brandies seem to taste like a stronger drink to me than whiskeys, maybe because we're more of a whiskey house. We compare a lot more whiskeys to each other. But that 80%, like 160 proof, that would really blow your skirt up. That really was quite a powerful drink. But really interesting. It was an eau de vie. We didn't age it. And with water, as you do with anything, I'm sitting here with my droppers for any tasting that we're doing here. You would add a couple of drops and it would taste different, triggering all the different senses that we all have. And it was an interesting tipple. Let's put it that way. Not something we had it in the tasting rooms again, as we have the license to do that in the tasting rooms. We didn't take that one to the open market. It was not quite to what we really wanted to finish on.
No, that's fine.
But
so this brandy, one thing I noticed is that it's not at 40%. To me, it drinks almost like there's no alcohol to it.
Yeah,
it's sweet, but it also there just has that little bit of leatheriness to it. And I really wonder, because I'm really curious to try this, but have you tried pairing this with cigars or a pipe?
We have, actually. We always thought, we talked a little bit about our smoked whiskey, that our whiskey would do well with cigar smokers. I'll be honest, I think the smoke in the whiskey and the cigars is a little much.
Yeah.
Some people like that, but not the majority of people we've done. When we tried the apple brandy, it's not sweet, but with the notes that it's got, the sort of
Everything's fine.
Somebody's leg just fell off. So those sweeter notes and the smoke seem to go well together. It was interesting to see. It did go down well. The Primo Cigar Club that's just up the road from us. I can't do that many cigars. My wife would hate it, but sometimes I've been there, and they got little glass fronts on their little lockers. I see many a bottle of our apple brandy in there, which is good to see.
No, and I think you're right about that. I'm like, for probably what most people would think of like the smoked releases, it has its own unique torque, of the mesquite and stuff, and kind of, I think, not that I don't know how well that would play with most cigars. I don't want to say it would play bad, but I think that in one way you're kind of dampening the other. I was going to say, I don't see it kind of playing as well as like you said with just the brandy and kind of letting the smoke influence it no matter what it is at that point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is, soft and smooth enough that it'll take a lot of something powerful with it,
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, let's say maybe it's the unsmoked version of your whiskey.
Yeah.
Now maybe that might play different with cigars.
That might. It's gonna be interesting to see that one out in the do some tastings with the cigar guys and see what they think.
Do you ever give them any of your barrels to put some cigars in?
We've offered that, and I think they're just clamoring for space.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We actually do heat and humidify the warehouse, which we've never done it, but I'd love to just take a used single malt, mesquite smoked whiskey that we've had, lay it on its side, take the head off, put a shelf in, put the cigars in, and put it back. It's not as much humidity as you might quite have in a humidifier to keep the cigars, fresh.
Yeah.
But I think that could be really interesting, just like because the whiskey in those empty casks, sometimes you'll stick your nose when it's still in a volatile state. You've emptied it. It's a vapor that's left in the barrel.
Yeah,
that would really soak into the cigars. I think it could be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm surprised somebody hasn't gotten one of your barrels and turned it into a humidor.
Yeah, I think it'd be good.
I think so too.
Yeah. Here in New Mexico, you'll have to pump maybe more humidity in because it's so dry that they'll dry out. But that's not a bad. I'm going to make a note in that actually because I might play with my next project.
There you go.
I'm tired of climbing trees trying to hang bottles in it. I'll try something. Yeah.
Keep it on the ground. If nothing else, it'd be a really cool display case.
Yeah.
I almost thought about seeing them on like the side where they could like it'd almost be like a glass front they could like roll out the bottom or something. So I don't know. So I got all excited myself there. we almost turned into a do-it-yourself show.
Yeah, there you go. we're going to run off into our wood shops and try making the next thing later. You know?
That would be the Christmas episode. This is what you're supposed to give people as gifts.
Yeah.
Okay. Since we clearly segued into the unsmoked.
We did, but I just finished off the brandy, so go ahead.
Okay. Holy crap.
Oh, the unsmoked?
Oh my God. Yeah, the nose on this is this is 100% not what I expected from the unsmoked on it. And honest to God, so I get like for the first 3 hits that I get on the nose, brown sugar, gum, and cinnamon toast.
Mm-hmm. Let me get and see.
Cinnamon toast. Huh?
I get the cinnamon toast, yeah.
At the top, yeah.
And so and how I know
it's
only
so
asking how much or how long did you age this, and was this in New Oak also?
This was done actually the same as regular Colin Keegan. It was a minimum 3 year because we think that's a good benchmark for us where we're aging.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that there's a few different casks came out at a few different times. It's going to be about an average about 3.5 years old. Not old, but at our elevation, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
As higher volatiles escape quickly because of our lack of humidity and being at 7,000 feet. So 3.5 years works well. And we kept it the same profile of aging of casks. 2 used cask to 1 new cask. This blend was a 6 cask blend, which ended up as I think it was 2,500 bottles by the time we were done. I should do the math. It wasn't that many.
I get a really nice like honeysuckle. It's so not aggressive compared to some other malts. Like it smells very clean, cohesive. What's there, but very clean on the nose.
Yeah, we were definitely aiming, and I think we achieved for something as the sort of antithesis to the other smoke that we do. Oh, that's nice. Thanks, Adina. Waltz. Smoked is one of my favorites for this year. Thank you. I'll take that.
Can't remember if she snuck I think it was the sherry finished one.
Was it the sherry finish on? Ah, there you go. Cool.
I think that's the one what it was. But
that's doing well. Yeah, this unsmoked, we actually, because of what we're trying to do with it, we actually put straight online, so you can get it online right now.
Yeah, this is neat.
As you said, it's softer. We're more after the graininess that comes from a 2-row raw barley and the sort of more floral notes. The other end of the spectrum from our oaky, smoky Colin Keegan range. So it's different. It's very soft.
Adding this to the setup of a lineup of tasting makes it, just knowing what the other ones are makes it very interesting.
Yes.
Now, then I thought about this before. I'm like, because I was thinking, like, would you want to do the heavy ones first and this one afterwards? And typically not, because you wouldn't want to kill it. But I'm like, I'm going to try it both ways because I just want to see if it's like, because I thought this would be very surprising before even having it with just the differences. But I mean, just the nose difference is incredible. And what is this one at?
This
one's at 46 too. 46%.
The same. Yeah, we didn't branch too far from how we make whiskeys. 46% in 92 proof. 46, 92 proof. Minimum 3 year. Actually, I'd say minimum 3.5 years. Sound like a little kid. I'm 3.5, not 3. Every half year counts, though, in whiskey, I think.
Well, so you said, especially with where you're at in certain parts of the country, I'm like, that could be another 3% of the overall share of the barrel. It's like, well, that does matter.
Yeah, it does matter. Yeah, with our angel share, another half year. It's another, few percent.
So this would be fantastic, I think, in a blind of single malts from the world, because there's no way someone's going to try this one and say, "Oh, that's an American single malt," it has that little bit of thing. This is
that's just what I was trying to think.
It's really freaking good.
Yeah, thank you.
And I love your other whiskeys a lot. I'm out, and I need to replenish that. But
let me know.
Good.
Do that, yeah.
And I was just thinking about that, like where would I put it, because it has some neat like butteriness to it, like almost like an Irish, like we were talking about before with the brandy, but there's a couple spots in Scotch in Scotland it could land too. It's just that it's neat that it's not aggressive. You know what I mean?
It doesn't have American aggressiveness.
Yeah.
No. It 100% agree. I love playing with the bolder, stronger American single malts that are out there. The Balcones. I see 2 bottles behind you there, mate. The Brimstone. Brimstone's that's a bold whiskey.
I love that. I just threw it on some friends on a camping trip this weekend, and I had to have it last. And the ones that hadn't have it before, I go, now the best part about Brimstone is you're going to taste it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's true. I love the Balcones folks, and Jared and his team do a wonderful job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're honored to be included a lot of times with those guys. And Westland, the balance that they have is incredible. Matt does a great job of balancing them, but they're still bold, and they really do, especially the Gariana with that Northwest oak, etc.
And they're another one that plays to their region, but at the same time, there's some of theirs that if you put in a blind, I think people would get lost on it on a lot of them. So
most definitely, this one's going to be interesting as we throw it into competitions and take it to shows and see what people think, because it's a very different outreach from what we've done. And we're very happy with it,
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is, it might be different from what you've done, but this is extremely familiar to a whiskey drinker.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This might be how we introduce the Colin Keegan line. Start here. It's going to be a big jump from this to the classic orange label, as we call it. Yeah.
Wow.
So somebody put a note in there. Yes, the new oak and the 1 part new oak is exactly from Spencer Mav. He got it. That's why we have new oak in there. When we made the Colin Keegan, we were experimenting enough, and 100% smoked mesquite smoke was way too much. 50% was too much, and we toned it down to 30. But we said, let's get some new oak to see. That was back in 2011, and that recipe stuck. So that's why we've stuck with it. It gives us more ability to play. It's not always exactly 1/3, 2/3, but it lets us homogenize is a nasty word in the whiskey world, I know, but to keep classic Colin Keegan the same.
Mm-hmm.
The same. And I think it works here,
Yeah. It's light. It doesn't seem very like viscous. It seems like it fades away, like light and medium. But you're still left with this really nice finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably getting a little more apples because of the apple brandy beforehand, and I have a little bit maybe of that carrying over. But I'm getting like a little bit of apple in the middle of my mouth, but like the little bit of nice spices and the barrel note on the sides. This is really, really nice.
Oh, thank you.
Just the way it is. And like you said, it's when you said using it to introduce people to the line, I get that. It's a nice introductory whiskey or American single malt for a lot of people. But for people who are more into whiskey, I think they're going to get the nuances in here that I find really intriguing. It's a small, tight-knit little song going on here where you don't realize what's all being played until it's over.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's a great description. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the introductory part of this. I'd say there's a different or definite clarification that it's an introduction to the Colin Keegan brand, but it's not an introductory whiskey by any choice or any stretch.
No, it's I get, it's funny because this is still new to us. We tasted the others obviously plenty of times. I get a lot of hay and sort of grassy notes.
Mm-hmm.
And it just in that, not like in the middle of summer when after a rainstorm, when the grass is not like after a newly mown lawn. I mean, that's really grassy, but not like the hay fields that are sort of like dusty and dry dusty, sort of in between grassy.
Right.
I can't, I'm trying to think of the best descriptor for that, but it is, as a kid, when I'm out walking as a kid,
yeah,
when I was many years ago,
it's not what we think we are.
Yeah.
There's a split second this weekend where I thought I was 26.
Yeah. I'm more than double that, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was. That's not what I am.
Every time I think I'm that young, I've got to be careful I don't get up to try and do the athletic things I could do when I was 26.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, what did I do?
Exactly. I messed my hip up waking up from a nap this weekend. I was camping and I was walking around. I'm like, I'm limping. And then one of my friends was like, what the hell did you do? I'm like, I took a nap. I don't know what I did, but I was just limping like crazy after the nap. And then I after going back to bed that night, I woke up, I was fine. Yeah. So I don't know what I did, but sucks getting old.
Yeah, it does. I think sometimes for me, an afternoon nap, if you get that dead sleep, when somebody could throw something at you, you wouldn't wake up, bounce a bottle of whiskey off your head, and you sleep through it kind of thing, It happens a lot in my house, obviously. That is when you wake up and you realize, I've been laying at a crooked angle, and you can hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Let's get back to whiskey. We're sounding like really old men.
All right, I'm gonna pour a little more here, and I got no problem with that.
Yeah. No, this is very, very nice, Colin. This is very nice.
Thank you, guys. I'm happy it made it to you and you're enjoying.
No, I mean adding this, and I hadn't had the apple brandy before. As far as like a tasting lineup at a distillery, a very nice lineup, a very nice setup. I know you have a couple other things as well too.
Yeah.
But I mean, just with the core, with the 2 expansions here that I've tried, that's a hell of a day.
Yes, it is. We really enjoy tasting through the lineup of whiskeys. We're actually just about to make a switch because we've got 9 different spirits. And that's a bit too many to taste, even with tiny amounts, when the family comes in. I mean, obviously there's no kids, of course, but, the young drinkers in their late mid-20s or whatever, and then the parents and sometimes the grandparents. And that's a lot of little. I'm tired of washing that many shot glasses. Let's put it that way. As you know, we do it properly. We do it in Glencairns, but we got the mini ones, but
I like the mini ones, to be honest.
The mini ones are fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you, we just did we come out with a Christmas kit that's 4 of our whiskeys with 2 mini Glencairns in there. And they're little 200 ml bottles. We just about sold out of them, unfortunately, but we made 200 and we thought they'd last for the holidays.
I remember you did something like that last year, and I couldn't get my hands on one.
Yeah,
but it's a good. Well, I was gonna say it's a great. We love sample kits like that because that's enough for not just when it's 200. That's enough for not just you to try, but if you're having some other people over, it's enough to have like an actual little tasting with your friends.
Yeah.
Do you have those on the site now?
Yeah, those are on the website. Yeah.
Okay.
Those enough to hop and grab them.
These, I got to tell you, this whiskey on the finish of it, it's light and it's fresh, but it's also oily.
Mm-hmm.
but it's I did not expect it to be, just because it is very light and it's a light and refreshing whiskey, but not light on flavor at all.
Right.
But then when I was looking at the glass, I'm like, shit, this is oily.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it
Because
is.
it's bright, but not in the way, you think of a whiskey that's just, bright and light and sharp and thing. It's not at all. I mean, it actually, now I think of it, what it reminds me of is, have you ever had, I'm sure you've heard of Compass Box, but have you ever had Compass Box Asila?
I don't think I have. I mean,
been a while.
It's a really light one, a very light blend as far as light in color, light in flavor, but it's very refreshing like this. And I always call it my summer scotch, because it's perfectly fine. 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
It's almost like drinking a chilled white wine.
Oh wow.
And this gives me that
nice.
same feeling,
Yeah.
like this, like, all right, I could see this this is a hot day whiskey.
Mhm.
Yeah. Great. I made a
That's
note.
great.
You're gonna get me one of those. Compass Box do wonderful stuff.
They
Mhm.
do. I'm
And-
gonna kill this.
Yeah.
I'll get you some more.
We got plenty more. We'll remind me and we'll send some bottles. Easy to do.
This is this should be on the tagline. Be careful, you're gonna finish your bottle.
I'm making notes here. You guys have got some good marketing things. Yeah, you work in that realm, don't you? Yeah.
Wow.
That
Yeah.
is great.
And as far as whiskeys that make you want to go back, it's not one that's forcing you. Like
No.
there are some that are so aggressive it almost like forces you, or you get so like a dry tannic note that you have to find something and then go back to it. That's not with this. Like Mike said, it's with that light oily finish. It really holds on, but at the same time, once it kind of fades and you start getting a little bit of that oakiness and the dryness coming through, it does. Yeah, whole bottle is a problem.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna have to set
Yes.
this aside. Like,
Yeah.
but it's just because it's effortless to drink.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't
Yes.
seem 46. It seems lighter than somewhat. I'd put it like it tastes like a wine as far as alcohol wise. It tastes for me in the teens. Like it is not. There's a big for my brain at this moment. There's a big disconnect.
Yes. Well, it is interesting. A couple of my friends who, other distillers and whiskey makers have said, "Oh, Colin, get your whiskeys out." And I got this one out, and I didn't show them, the label, because it stands very differently, because the others are all black.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically went, no, I'll go pour you a glass. This is something else we're coming out with. And it's amazing. Everybody looks at us and they think, oh, maybe not me particularly, but big, bold. And here comes the whiskey. Let's get ready for it. We love Colin Keegan. And this one, they're like, oh my goodness, it's light and, different. So to me, this is the whiskey that you drink early evening. It's one of the, people always say, what's your favorite whiskey? And if I talk scotches, the Balvenis and the Dalwhinnies are the early evening, cocktail before dinner kind of thing. Whereas maybe the Colin Keegans might lean into the after dinner evening stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So that's, we're trying to round out the portfolio, and that's what this is about.
Honestly.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Yeah. And like you said, like a different direction where, the cast strength, and I love it. It grabs you by the shirt. I love it. It's
The cast strength is pretty.
and I love it.
Yeah, going in. Yeah.
But I'm like, and just like you said, just complete opposite. And on that note, shows a very good job by the distilling team that you guys have, being able to push kind of both edges of the envelope of what you're doing here. Wonderful.
Yeah. We Stephen is our head distiller. It was Natalie probably the last time we had the show, I think, or maybe previously it was Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen comes from a big whiskey background at the Laws Whiskey House. You probably know the Laws Whiskey
Oh,
House in Colorado. That was his background. But he's locked into Santa Fe Spirits. I think we've handcuffed him to a desk somewhere. He's not going anywhere. Luckily for us, he's just built a house in New Mexico.
No, he's got to stay for a bit. That's always good.
Yeah.
Did he get a good architect?
No, I don't think you can find one in this town now. I mean,
Couldn't afford it.
yeah, who can afford them these days?
They're too busy.
So I see a question popped up. Spencer Mav, the best month to visit New Mexico. Boy, I like the cooler weather. So for me, I would say the best months, if you're just visiting like the whole of New Mexico, and not just Santa Fe or down south where it's quite a bit warmer, I would say September into October or April into May.
Okay.
Those months you're going to find 40-degree nights, 50 to 60-degree days, which in a lot of other states is kind of cool and kind of cold. We don't have any of that moisture, so you don't feel it. You can put a sweater on, or you can manage in a shirt between 50 and 60 degrees, and sometimes jeans if you want to wear pants. Okay, fair enough. But jeans and a collared shirt, t-shirt, and you'll be fine. Those months. Now, if you like skiing, we've got great skiing up in the northern end of the state. So obviously the winter months. I sound like a tourist ad. Every month of the year is great. But,
I like how he turns it all of a sudden. That is like it turns like these
sponsored by the New Mexico Tourist Department. No, but we are actually. You can see on our bottles. I'll show it here. That says New Mexico True on there. We're very happy to promote New Mexico. I love living here. And that's something we tried to do with the distillery, was have everything have a connection back to the distillery, the apples from my orchard. We do a gin that's actually our largest volume seller. I'm not a gin drinker, so I don't talk about it, but it's actually the best income for us. But it's all the botanicals are from New Mexico. To us, the mesquite smoke in the whiskey is New Mexico. But I would say really, as I'm rambling, to get back to Spencer Mav's question, I would say early mid-fall and, early late spring, if you want to just, see the sights and enjoy the weather.
I gotta say, I was looking forward to piggybacking on that question anyway.
Oh, right. Oh, good.
So yeah, do you have any other weird things you guys have coming out with, or are you guys holding on the portfolio for a minute this coming year?
What do we have that's different? Did I ever send you this, guys? This thing here. This is something that I'll send definitely in a gift basket if you haven't seen it yet.
Oh, no.
This has been with us a couple of years now. We had a head distiller at the time, and his name was Johnny Jeffrey, and he's very well known in the distilling world. And he came here to really sort of help us elevate really everything we're doing. And he was a trail runner, and he came here and he said, God, nothing in New Mexico smells. There's no water to sort of volatilize the smells and flavors around. It's sort of pretty flat. So our gin was designed to smell like a rainstorm coming across the desert. So there's a lot of sagebrush in there. We've got cholla cactus in there, lots of other things. So Johnny decided to do a mountain version of this. So this is our whiskey straight off the still. We do an unaged whiskey, the Silver Cody. Have you tried the unaged, the clear whiskey we do?
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a clear whiskey with the Silver Cody. And it's that straight off the still that we put into full size 53 casks, 53-gallon casks, and we put a pound of roasted pine nuts in.
Okay.
Per gallon. It's a lot of pine nuts.
Yeah.
And when we pull it out after 9 months to a year, we sweeten it with a little turbinado sugar, and Ponderosa pine sap, which this is to me, and you can see it's cloudy. I said this is a liqueur, but the cloudiness is because the Ponderosa pine sap, if you really run it through any kind of filter, just sucks it all back out. So there's no point in putting it in there. Remind me with your addresses, and I'll send some bottles. I think that's, I know you guys do different themes on shows. If you ask for the more esoteric products that distillers have got, you could have a great show. This is ours, and it really, when you're hiking in the mountains on a warm summer's day and the sap starts running, the way we harvest the sap is, unfortunately, when trees get wounded. Here in New Mexico, we got a lot of lightning. A lightning strike will break a branch off, and it'll ooze sap to cover the wound on the tree. Basically, we wait till that's dried, and then you can sort of snap it off with your fingers. And to make about 50 gallons only takes about the size of a softball, really. Lump of the sap.
Oh, really? Because
that's different, and that's actually doing very well for us at this time of year. It reminds people of the winter, the Ponderosa. It's a bit smelling like a campfire with all the sap burning.
Very cool.
With the sap, I was going to say, do they let you could you harvest it at any point, or does it have to have like something happen to the tree, like you said, a lightning strike to kind of make you go out and do it? Because I like with Garyana, I was like, you can't just go grab the wood.
Oh boy, no. Yeah, that tree has to be, fallen over by itself. That's why it's so difficult. There's no rules and regulations on Ponderosa pine sap. You could, we don't, and we never would advise, but you could try and harvest it like they do with maple syrup. You know how they put the little metal funnels kind of in the tree, and they collect it and then they boil it up, etc. We found that it actually tastes better when it's sat on the outside of the tree and sort of off-gas the.
Okay.
There's a tiny sort of paraffin-y taste when you get it in a raw stage, but if you let it dry, that sort of off-gases, and you end up. It must absorb smells and tastes from the atmosphere around it. I mean, you can't flick it off when it's just straight after a wound. It's got to have been a wound that's at least been through a whole season of growing.
Oh, okay.
So it's dried. I mean, when we pick it, you put it in take a yogurt carton with you, because you can sort of hold that in your hand and flick it in, and it shakes like, grit in there,
Huh. Sorry, that's all interesting to say. I didn't.
That's really cool.
Anything about that? That's neat, especially having to like wait a year and stuff.
Yeah. So we, it gives me an excuse to hike a different trail, because I live on a trail. I mean, this orchard that we live in is actually at the bottom of one of the best trails in New Mexico. We're lucky. Bloody tourists are always here, but no, I can't. I love it, but
just chuck apples at them.
Actually, we do. There's so many apples. We put a little pail out every Friday and Saturday, and by Saturday night it's gone. So we put another one out for Sunday,
Nice.
Which is kind of fun.
I thought there was going to be a story like, there was this time we chased people off by throwing apples.
Yeah.
We built an apple cannon from the old bong experiment.
Apple cannon sounds fun. I like that.
You can add that to the Harvest Festival.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I'm gonna switch over to sip on a little bit of the brandy here.
Okay.
Before we let you go, because I see we're running a little over an hour here. We don't want to hold you on too long this evening, but wow, thank you for letting us get a chance to taste both of these. The brandy for a brandy month is really unique, like light and nuanced, and some other apple brandies are much more aggressive. Really neat, and the single malt. I mean, just a different, like you said, 180 from the other style of stuff, and equally as complex, but in a whole different area, and a really neat way to compare what happens to a distillate. That doesn't always get to happen for people. So having that, the original and the 2 finishes now that you can try, that's a really neat afternoon or a day with some friends.
That is it's a good early evening whiskey, that one.
Yeah.
And for the apple brandy, I can't get off the whole show without making a little plug for this is the bottle here. It's my wife's painting on the label.
Yeah.
So she's an artist here, and this is a little still life that she did way back in the beginning. It's very very arts and crafts, kind of fun.
I like that part of the painting on it when I saw it. I'm like, it I don't know, kind of gave it more like that homey feel to it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Very home there. Real mom and pop. I make the whiskey. She paints the labels. She doesn't paint each one, I must admit, but
You're really putting her to work.
You could do an artist series with those, and then they have to collect the whole set.
Wait.
I will have to be nice to her so that when we come out with our what do you call it, estate series, she does that, because we'll have different apples in there.
That's just what I was thinking. I was like, man, that special release stuff, that'd be pretty amazing.
That'd be kind of cool.
So before we go, I just want to let everyone in the show know a couple things still coming up this month. I'm going to get back to some of the things here. Next Monday, we will have Alan Bishop from Spirits of French Lick on. We'll be talking about his Old Clifty apple brandy. And then at the end of the month, we will be having Fred Swanson on to talk about the brandy they have coming out then. We also have a couple other ones we might throw in the tasting that we're having in December. We're just finishing one date with that, with a couple of the guests coming on. So once we have that, we'll do that. But if there will be a post tomorrow to give people a chance to win the tasting of the stuff that we're sampling and going over this evening. So you heard us rave about this. So stay tuned for tomorrow, and all you're going to have to do is something real simple. You don't have to like every site we have. You just have to share it so everyone finds out about what's going on this month. Then you get entered into the drawing, and you get a chance to taste what we're going over this whole month. And we'll be doing it right during the holiday season, when I think you're supposed to be drinking brandy with your friends. Sorry, that's
damn right.
I would agree. 'Tis the season.
Exactly. It falls right inside that area stuff. So
it goes really well in eggnog instead of rum as well, actually, by the way. For not just this brandy, or all brandies, I would say, instead of a rum.
Now it's all the experimenting going on. I like it. So make sure you stop over to their website, where you can find access to their lovely products. But thank you, Colin, for coming on this evening and sharing some of your time. I'll let Mike speak here, but I was going to say, we always love the products you're putting out. Like, each time I have one, it's always out of the park. So
thank
lovely.
you. I appreciate it. Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Anything to talk about whiskey.
Yeah, honestly, we've been fans, and that's not going to change. And you keep coming out with stuff like this, so this is
makes it easy.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, what's going on, Nancy? It's good to see you.
Hey, Nancy.
She's always got some good takes on brandy as well, too.
Oh, she knows a brandy or two. Just
just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And Emily announcements will be on. We'll do them on all the platforms: YouTube, Facebook, the Instagram, not the Twitter. I don't tweet well.
I'll ask. So for your own self promotion, are you guys? Do you have any upcoming blending things going on like you were doing?
We don't have anything this side of the holidays. It's going to be early in January, and there's sort of TBD, to be honest. But we're going to do 2 Thursdays in January in the depths of winter. It's not a heavy winter we have here, but it's an excuse to get to the distillery and, blend a whiskey. And that is we pick a smoky Colin Keegan cask and an oaky Colin Keegan cask, and one right down the middle. and you get to make your own Colin Keegan. It's kind of a fun event. Some people will lean one way or the other.
Will that go on sale before the holiday so you could buy it as a gift and then get it after the holiday? Okay,
that's the plan, that you get to buy for people. We're currently just doing it here in New Mexico, but we're trying to get it back into a format that we had during COVID, where we send you, 200 ml bottles of each of the three, and then you can, blend your own. Then you send us the recipe and we ship it to you. We have to charge extra for the shipping on that.
Wow. I mean,
yeah.
Heaven forbid you have a great experience like that and get to blend your own version of a whiskey that's personalized to you or the group that day.
You come up with 3 good casks and you get to make your own whiskey from it. It's kind of a lot of fun.
That is. I think that's even if you had a couple people doing it together, is like you can come up with a special blend for a group or an occasion between a group.
Yeah. No, it's definitely worthwhile. It's a lot of fun. Oh, cool.
No pressure, Colin.
No pressure.
Oh my goodness, we've got the professionals in here now. Nancy, send me the latest physical mailing address. I'll send you a few bottles. No problem. Same location or not? That'd be great to send you some.
Oof, man, it is just so tasty. Yeah. It is fantastic. But so, I was going to say it is always great to have you on. This is neat stuff. I already told you I kind of got some other plans for maybe a couple of your other releases for next year.
Great.
Or other tastings. So we look forward to always talking to you anytime you have anything new or coming out, or like you said, some of these things that you have coming out for gifts. Let us know. We're always more than happy to promote them because
I really appreciate it. Yeah, everything's now on our website, and you can get them in 41 states. We're like little elves at the moment. We're making it as fast as we can.
Well, especially taking that about a year off from doing it to do all the hand sanitizer. How have you found that gap? As far as like product wise, did stuff slow down purchasing wise to kind of help with that gap of that year of kind of shifting away from it? Sorry, I don't know. Sorry, I went back into a question. It just popped into my head as we're leaving here. Sorry.
It was we pivoted and pivoted and pivoted like everybody. We should have pivoted in different directions because we got pivoted so many times we were spinning. But that's one of the reasons why, the Colin Keegan unsmoked came out, because we were sort of looking through what are we going to do on the way out of this, which is where we made it pre-COVID, obviously. The Pedro Jimenez sherry cask finish came out of that, was in the middle of that, which was great. We branched out like a lot of people did into RTDs, ready to drink. Cocktails. We do a little 375, which to us is 4 strong cocktails. We do a Manhattan and a Negroni. We to be honest, we were so unsure. I was in full admiration of the people who dug in and hedged all their bets and bought all the grain and just really cranked on making whiskey, because they've now got bigger stocks. Ours carried on. We carried on making it. But cash flow was such that we really couldn't afford enough grain to really pound down, the whiskey making, which was unfortunate. But
we're reality.
Yeah, it was a reality. We're back on, back in the saddle and cranking away at our, casks that we do now.
Excellent. Well,
trying times, but they were for all of us in all our businesses, like you guys well know too.
Well, like I said, everyone had that, and like we said, we're glad to see everyone kind of come out of it. So, but like we were saying, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll let you get back to life here, but we appreciate it every time you come on, and like Mike said, everything you're putting out is really top notch, and it's fun to show people.
I enjoy showing it, and. We'll look forward to showing more next time. And Thanks for having us.
All right.
Absolutely.
Remember,
guys.
it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of whiskey. Cheers, everyone.
Stalancha.
Cheers.
Thank you.